One easy way that we can improve our performance in DSE speaking is to try and think about the challenge of the group discussion in a slightly different way. A lot of the time, when we're preparing, when we're practicing how to make our answers organized and well structured, we focus on what we can say first, the first part of our answer, our topic sentence. But today I want to talk about another approach where we look at it from the other end of your turn. Instead of focusing on the beginning, we're going to focus on the end. So why focus on the end? Well, the reason is the end of our turn can impact several of the four main areas that the examiner is judging you on. The first way that focusing on the end of our turn is going to help us is to do with our communication strategies. Remember, the examiners want to see you guys, all four of you, having a conversation, interacting with each other. They're going to be judging you on your body language, what you do to push the conversation forward, to help develop it as a group. And the end of your turn is the most important part of your little 30 or 40 second bit of speech for this criteria. Why? Well, it's the end which is going to help the next person to link with your speech. In other words, it is what you do here that is going to help push the conversation forward. So at the end of our turn, we need to be making sure that we're doing everything we can to make it easy for the other people to follow on and respond to our idea or to move the conversation into a new area. So there we have it, one of the most important reasons why we need to think about the end of our turn. But apart from that, it has an important role in what we call the coherence of your response. What does coherence mean? Well, it means how the bit of speech or the paragraph you're saying sticks together. The coherence is like the skeleton of your paragraph. So if your response is coherent, it means it is very easy to see the main overall point you're making and how all of your ideas fit together. The ending is kind of like if you imagine it like a parcel, the end is like tying the bow on the parcel at the end. It's the thing that holds everything together. And if we don't think about it, we don't focus on it, our parcel just comes unwrapped. Doesn't matter how good the beginning of our wrapping process is, if we don't tie the bow at the end, it doesn't work. It's not coherent. So this is two things to do with the communication strategies, two reasons why focusing on the end of our turn is so important. It helps us to link with other people, and it also helps us to be more coherent. Coherence is important because it makes it easier for other people to understand, so communication strategies, but it's also a key part of our organization. And that brings me on to the second area. Focusing on the end helps our organization, but it also helps us to make sure that our ideas stay focused and relevant. It gives us the chance to kind of give a conclusion to our idea. Sometimes, especially if you're nervous and stressed in the exam, your idea might wander a little bit. It might go a little bit off track. Well, focusing on your endings allows you to bring everything back together. As we said before, make it more coherent. And if it's more coherent, it's more organized. If it's more organized, it makes your ideas easier for the examiner to spot. The other way that focusing on endings helps our performance is in terms of the overall delivery, the appearance of our speaking turns. And having a good ending is a very good way of impressing the examiner. If you start very well and then your response trails off or it doesn't really finish properly, what's the last thing the examiner is going to remember about your turn? Well, it's that negative bit at the end, that where it trailed off, maybe it was not your best ideas. Whereas, if you say your turn and you have a nice, neat, clear ending, well, of course, that's going to make you look better. So it doesn't matter really if your idea is good or bad, having a clear ending to your turn is going to help you. It's going to make you look better. It's going to make you sound better. It's going to make your ideas sound more organized, even if they're not. We want to make sure that we're chopping off that bit at the end which maybe doesn't sound so good, which doesn't impress the examiners, and putting in something that is going to make our performance look and sound much better. Maybe look better than it really was. The other thing to remember is the examiner is very busy. They're watching 4 of you, and all 4 of you, they're judging you on many different areas. If you can have a nice, clear sign-off at the end of your turn, that could almost trick the examiner into giving you a better mark than you deserve. So, putting a little bit of attention into making sure that we end our turns well can have a really positive impact on our DSE performance. The next question is, how do I end my turn well? Well, it depends really. There are several ways to do it. We're just going to talk about some of the very simplest things you can do. The things that you can practice in an hour and it can have an impact on your performance. Stuff that you can implement straight away to make your speaking performance stronger. The first thing we can do is really very, very simple. All we do is summarize our main point. Think of it like a conclusion when you're doing writing or something like this. A summary is great because it does all of the things that we just talked about. A summary gives us a nice clear ending, and it helps the examiner and the other students in your group clearly remember what it was you were talking about. Let's say you've been asked to, suggest ways that your school can improve recycling. Maybe at the beginning, you made a suggestion about you could put special bins in the corridor for people to recycle paper, something like this. Maybe in your turn you began by talking about that clearly, and then you started talking about which corridors in your school, or you started talking about problems with the bins, or you started developing your idea in a certain way. Maybe the other people have lost focus on your main idea. So if you just come back again to say, in summary, I think one of the easiest things that we could do is implement a policy of placing paper recycling bins in corridors all around the school. Clear. That summary helps the examiner see what your ideas were and gives the other students a clear, simple message that they can respond to. So it's a really effective tool to improve your endings. One sentence, just restate what your main idea was. Very easy, very effective. Another thing that we can do to improve our endings is very easy. We ask direct questions. Now, when I say direct questions, I don't mean a question that you could fit onto any answer. So something like, what do you guys think? Or do you guys have any ideas? These are what we call formulaic expressions. The examiners don't really like them. It can help you with the function a little bit. It can help signal to the other people that you've finished speaking and it's their turn to take over, but it doesn't really do much else. If you're going to ask a question, try to ask a direct question that links to what you're discussing. So again, let's say we are using the example of implementing recycling in our school. It could be something like, so do you guys have any other ideas for measures we could take to improve recycling in the school? That's a clear, doing exactly the same thing as what do you guys think, but you're showing the examiner that it is a direct question related to your topic. You can also be focused about who you ask the question to. For your communication strategies, it's a good thing to try to bring in weaker speakers. So if you've noticed that perhaps one of the candidates had not spoken very much, perhaps you can direct the question to them. Candidate C, do you have any ideas about how we could improve recycling in our school? Something like this. So easy, so simple, but can have a really positive effect. We can use them to push forward the discussion. Instead of saying, now let's move on, you can ask a direct question. So do you guys think we're ready to move on to, and then you say what the next area of the topic is. There's hundreds of different ways that we can vary the use of questions. But the easy rules for using questions at the end of your term would be, number one, make sure you do not use formulaic questions. Make sure the questions that you use are relevant to the conversation. Number two, try to use the question to bring in weaker candidates if you can. Sometimes there may not be a weaker candidate, but if you can, that will help. And thirdly, use your questions to really try and bring out key parts of the question. Okay, again, just like a summary, it can really work to kind of highlight where the discussion is going. So use your questions effectively. Questions are a very easy way to improve our performance. Now, there are many, many, many more things we can do to improve the endings for our turns. But in terms of simple things that you can do right now to improve your exam performance tomorrow, giving a summary of your idea at the end or asking a question are two of the easiest and most effective ways to do this. So there we have it, a very simple way to improve the endings of your turns in the DSE Speaking Part A discussion. Hopefully these can help you. Hopefully they can help improve your performance without too much effort, and hopefully you get the scores that you're aiming for. I wish you all very, very good luck in your assessments.